And yeah, this video just kinda popped out when I was looking through Reggie's channel, and it really spoke to me. So no idea what Shadows of Doubt is. I am very excited to find out though. So yeah, without much further ado, let's just get into I Used Ultraviolence to Solve Crime in Shadows of Doubt by Reggie.
Have you ever wanted to be a hard-boiled detective that solves crimes? Maybe one who crawls through ventilation shafts and accidentally breaks into the wrong office, unintentionally commits corporate espionage, and
Okay, so far looks like an immersive sim kind of experience while supposedly being a detective. That sounds like a fantastic fucking game. I don't want to ruin Reggie explaining it, but this game has one of the coolest implementations of procedural generation. Yo? Oh, okay, let's just see what he has to say about it.
shatters the security guard's jaw when he tries to stop you, handcuffing him to a radiator before making a swift escape through the window of a 14th floor apartment. Well boy, you really have some stuff to work on. But in the meantime, we can simulate all of those things in Shadows of Doubt. This game offers a procedurally generated world with hundreds of unique citizens innocently going about their lives until one of them snaps and becomes a serial killer. As unlicensed detectives, we are the only people that can solve these crimes and bring their
Okay, that sounds almost like too good to be true. Like a game that you can infinitely replay and the crimes and the suspect is always different. That sounds fucking insane, man. That literally sounds too good to be true.
offenders to justice. Can we save the world from homicidal maniacs, or will we become one in the process? There's only one way to know, but first, a word from our sponsor. This video is sponsored by Raid Shadow Legends.
Raid
It's an
Shadow Legends
RPG PvP mobile phone lifestyle experience with over 80 million downloads, in-depth customization, and amazing graphics. Personally, I enjoy
that game fucking sucks, by the way.
the boss battles. Sometimes I fight them in public, and when I lose, I scream and cry before slamming my head through some drywall. But it's all in good fun. Speaking of fun, Raid wants us to play a game called Kiss, Marry, Kill using their roster of over 800 unique champions. I'll start by saying that I would kiss Troglodyte because he is charming and reminds me of myself. I would also marry Troglodyte for the exact same reasons. Finally, I would kill Shatterbones because his Precambrian facial characteristics and male pattern baldness intimidate me greatly. Also, you have until November 10th to explore Raid's haunted cemetery for a chance to win in-game items and real-life prizes.
It's kinda crazy that Raid is actually still going strong with these sponsorships.
Simply download Raid using the links below, enter your player ID at this address, grab a shovel, and begin your career in grave robbing, because there's over $20,000 worth of Amazon gift cards to be found, along with several powerful champions. Download Raid with the link in my description or the QR code to get all this free stuff and Epic Champion Talia. Thank you, Raid. Now back to the video. We start by generating our character and city. Everything in Shadows of Doubt is disgusting and caked in a thick layer of corruption, so naturally I used my Discord server as the seed phrase. For my character, a white male named Reginald the Fist. More on that later. For now, let's begin. The city calls out to me like a cheap escort. She doesn't want me, but she needs me. It's constantly raining in an effort to shower these filthy streets clean, but it never works. This place is being choked by nihilism so hard that it's bulging at the eyes, dying a slow death, one citizen at a time. But that stops now. We spawn into a dirty alley as a high-masking autistic man who, judging by my surroundings, is also probably homeless. Perfect. It's just like real life. I spend some time trying to get
You legit have to figure out through random suspects, victims, and motives using actual deduction methods. This does include dusting for fingerprints, etc. Like, when you say stuff like that and then you say it's procedurally generated, like, I don't fucking believe you. In my mind, we are still at the point in time where procedural generation means there are certain presets to the rooms and they, like, the game mixes and matches those. It's fucking crazy what games can apparently do now.
in character by rummaging through dumpsters and jeering at passers-by. Eventually, my character gets cold and I have to huddle up next to someone who is almost certainly a sex offender for warmth. It was at this point I decided I do not enjoy being homeless, and so I went out looking for work. I've never actually played this game before, so my job search consisted mostly of me getting lost, accidentally breaking into a store, and also throwing bar stools at a janitor. Eventually, I found a man who looked suspicious. He's darting all over the road in a way that made me believe he's either a serial killer in a manic state, or he has just ingested a vial of amphetamines. Either way, I'm interested. I asked him for his fingerprints. He told me to piss off before clearing his throat and running down the street as if he was trying to dodge a series of snipers. Obviously, I followed him, and what I found was truly horrifying. The man climbed into the back of a food truck and began selling hamburgers. He's killing people alright, but he's doing it slowly and legally, so there's nothing we can do. I sunk into a pretty big depression after this and wandered my way to a nearby bar. As it turns out, this was my lucky break, because I found a bulletin board with several side jobs listed on it. Arresting a dangerous criminal, committing corporate espionage, and stalking people were all offered, but obviously I had to go with the fourth option, a note that simply read, "Humiliation, no questions asked, no questions answered," which was a great policy because I really didn't want to know why the note was spattered with an unidentified white liquid. I called the number and they told me that at exactly 7:20 p.m. a payphone in the Thacker Street burger joint would ring, and I must answer it for further instructions. Quickly checking my watch, I notice it's already 7:20 p.m. I panic and begin sprinting to the burger joint, only to realize it was literally 10 feet across the street from where I started. The person I am working for is a fucking idiot. I answer the phone and my client explains that they have a target they want me to humiliate, and they've hidden a briefcase with the target's details somewhere inside the restaurant. Finding it was quite simple because I literally watched it spawn in. I took a seat at a booth and popped it open. This was when I realized my client must have recently survived a motorcycle accident because he clearly has catastrophic brain damage. Why do I say this? Because the only information they gave me about the target in this entire briefcase is that they are 27 with short black hair and that they work at the burger joint. That could be just about every Asian in town. Now, done with the suitcase, I throw it at a small child as hard as I can, but I miss. Damn it. Assuming that the target is even here in the first place, these descriptors narrow it down to this girl behind the counter. Our mission? Humiliate her by throwing food in her face and using our camera to take a photo of it. This will be easy, I thought to myself. So I purchased a random food item and launched it at her eyes. However, the item I purchased was scalding hot coffee, and I believe that upset her greatly, because as I was fumbling with
Oh, that fucking scene from The Watchmen. Oh my god. The NPC behavior in this is wild. Unhinged even, I would say.
She jumped over the counter, pulled out a knife, and started stabbing me to death.
Oh my fucking god.
As if this wasn't bad enough, everyone else in the restaurant also began brandishing knives and chasing me as I jumped from booth to booth, snapping photos of what was sure to be my final moments on
So this takes place in London. Gotcha.
this earth. At one point, a man even pulled a gun and attempted to blow my head off. However, he missed and shot an innocent bystander in the shoulder. This was where it got interesting, because this accidental homicide incensed the crowd further, and they entered into some kind of blood orgy and started stabbing each other wildly. I documented the entire thing from behind.
How he's just fucking standing there in the corner taking photos of as if he's a fucking National Geographic photographer just looking at wildlife.
A couple of booths. Eventually, the mass hysteria became so extreme that it activated the security alarms, and high-powered ceiling turrets began firing into the crowd indiscriminately. This
Why are there security turrets in a fucking burger joint of all places?
was when I knew it was time to leave. I had done enough. Thankfully, while this was unfolding, someone was murdered, and for once, it wasn't my fault. Ladies and gentlemen, we have our first real case. The crime scene is at 903 Williams Park, so I ran there as fast as I could, which was actually very slowly. You see, someone in the diner stabbed me in the leg, and I can't afford a splint because I spent my only money buying a coffee to disfigure figure a young woman. So anyway, I limped my way there. I arrive at the destination and confirm it's the right place because it looks like a shithole. Honestly, I'm surprised it even took nation and confirm it's the right
Man, that is some...
place because it looks
That is some fucking liminal spaces nightmare. Holy shit.
like a shithole. Honestly, I'm surprised it even took this long for someone to be murdered here. I take the elevator up to the 9th floor, and after checking for witnesses, I sneak into the crime scene. It doesn't take me long to locate the body. This man has been beaten so viciously that I legitimately cannot identify any of his body parts, but I'm pretty sure he's wearing his glasses on his foot. I examine the body and learn that he's been killed with a pistol or revolver between 5:30 and 6:45. Above him, a message scrawled in his own blood. It reads, "Put a pin." I find a business card that completes the sentence. I don't know what it means, but I do know we're dealing with a real sicko here. My years of training kick in, and I immediately begin trying to locate his wife. When a man is murdered, it is always the wife. And unless our victim moonlights as a drag queen, these high heels and cherry red lipstick tell me he's got a woman. Actually, no. He doesn't. After doing some investigating, I came to the conclusion that his name is Mark Torres, and he's in a homosexual relationship with a man named Devin Savoy. Who wears the lipstick? That's between them and their god. I dusted the entire apartment for prints, but there's nothing here. The killer is good, but I'm better. I just need to think. I pry open the door on the fridge, grab a gallon of milk, and begin chugging it.
Holy fuck, like, because of the way this game works, I assume. Like, in a normal game, you would assume, you know, that this stuff belongs to a woman. But honestly, like, in real life, it's not that fucking simple, right? So, like, the chaos of this random generation actually makes for a really fucking compelling detective game where not everything is as obvious as it seems.
Help me focus. Instead, it makes me nauseous and I vomit all over myself. Thereby acquiring the smelly debuff. This one is annoying because if you're trying to sneak around, people will actually detect you because of how badly you stink. But one quick over-the-clothes shower later and we're back in business. I attempted to access
Jesus fucking Christ. I don't like the things he's doing to the crime scene though.
Mark's computer to check for incriminating emails, but it's password protected.
Is that like one of the possible scenarios and there are a couple of them? Or is this like an entirely randomized situation? Like I am struggling to grasp the extent of the randomization in this game because, like I said, it seems fucking impossible. Damn, this game already got me hooked. Holy shit.
This note says his password is his year of birth. However, I genuinely have no idea when that is, and looking at his mangled body isn't giving me any clues. Fortunately, I think I know how to find out. He works in an office on the 10th floor of Swanson Parks. If I can break in, they should have his employee file, which would contain his date of birth and his work computer. I slipped out of the crime scene and started making my way there. You may notice I have a lot more money than when I started. That's because I was stealing a lot of things from Mark's apartment. I arrive at the office after hours to find it empty, but protected by a series of
Detectives don't work for free, okay? And nobody really called in the crime, so he has to take care of himself.
Security cameras and auto turrets. The doors are locked, but I've got an idea. I make my way to the woman's washroom where I find a ventilation duct, and after prying it open, I slide myself inside and begin crawling my way toward the office. After a considerable amount of aimless wandering, I find the vent into the office and lower myself down. Briefly fumbling around, I find the light switch and begin exploring, only to realize this isn't the office at all. Instead, I've just broken into a random woman's apartment in the middle of the night. In a panic, I scurry back into the air vent and make my escape. Eventually, I do find my way into the office, and after sneaking my way to the power box, I'm able to disable the security systems. Now unburdened by the concept of consequences, I begin rifling through drawers and cabinets, stealing small change and lockpicks. However, I find a troubling amount of what I can only assume is industrial strength methamphetamine. I also found some of this in Mark's apartment, but I didn't realize the problem was so widespread. We're dealing with an entire office full of meth heads. This case is getting dodgier by the second. After filling my inventory with crystal meth for evidence, I proceed to the manager's office. This is where Mark's file would be.
You gotta ingest the evidence to really get into the skin of the suspect, you know.
However, it's locked. I attempt to smash through the window with a chair, but either the glass is too thick or the chair is too soft. So I settle for slithering my way into another ventilation duct. I use it to gain access to the main office and quickly locate Mark's file, and there it is, his birthday. From here, we sprint over to his computer, punch in the code, and begin scouring his emails for anything helpful. I found an email from a Nigerian prince begging for money, a message from his manager asking about explosions, collapses, depressurizations, but not dismemberments, and finally several emails from a gay dating website. I quickly double-checked that I hadn't accidentally logged into my own email. Unfortunately not. There's just nothing helpful here. It was also very stressful trying to figure this out at his desk, because every 5 minutes the cameras would turn back on, and I'd have to sprint to the breaker box before the turrets could begin shooting me to death. I think it's time to regroup and follow a new lead. First, we have to get out of this office. I work my way back into the air vents and quickly become lost.
Wait, he was accessing that fucking email on his work computer in the office. My man Mark is a brave one, okay?
I spend so much time crawling around aimlessly that I actually start to develop hypothermia, and my character begins shaking violently. Luckily, we made it out before freezing to death. It's at this time I'd like to point out that in the process of breaking into that office and stealing their valuables, I committed approximately $15,000 worth of crimes. Fortunately, no one caught us, so the fines disappear as soon as we leave the building. Now, all of this hypothermia has got me pretty hungry, so I head over to a vending machine to buy some food. I needed to free up space in my inventory, so I decided to temporarily place this diamond ring on the ground until I can finish.
Oh no, it's the Skyrim thing is gonna happen, isn't it? Where you dropped a stolen item, and like if you pick it back up or even the NPCs see you dropping it, they're gonna report a crime because it's a stolen fucking item, and like the game has no way of like marking it as like so the NPCs don't know it was stolen, because why the fuck would they know it's stolen? Or somebody is just gonna take it. I have a feeling this is gonna go very poorly.
My meal. However, the very second I take out the ring, a jabbering homeless man rushes me with a knife and demands all of my money.
That was different. I didn't expect that.
Finally explain that I stole this money fair and square and he's not getting a cent from me. That's when the stabbing started. He chased me down the street and around a hot dog cart before I managed to climb a pile of boxes and get out of his reach. We're kind of at a stalemate here. He can't reach me, but I can't get away. I tried to get him to leave by bouncing coins off his forehead, but he wouldn't budge. Eventually, I made a break for it, and he chased me for about 3 blocks before I lost him in some kind of garbage room. At this point, I am both scared and confused. I've been stabbed multiple times, and I'm still no closer to solving my crime. In fact, this is literally just London, you know. No policemen inside, just random fucking stabbings. Am I even a detective, or am I just a homeless man who breaks into crime scenes to steal food and throw up on the carpet? I don't know. We can solve that mystery later. For now...
Wait, isn't that just condemned criminal origins, though?
I decided to focus my attention on Devon Savoy. He's the spouse of our victim, and he's also missing in action. Fairly suspicious. I used his business card to find his office, and upon entering, I was able to bribe the receptionist to give me a guest pass. After rifling through Devon's desk, I found his headshot, several unguarded coins, and a sync disk. Useful, but not incriminating. In case you're wondering what a sync disk is, it's basically a cybernetic augmentation. The one I stole from Devon is particularly creepy. It's called Bathroom Hygiene Inspector, because once you slot it in, you get paid $40 for every photo you take inside a public washroom, with a bonus if they're particularly dirty. Naturally, I had to have this, so I climbed inside
what the fuck?
This terrifying machine, installed the sync disk, and upgraded it fully, so we're now making $100 per photo. This was actually so lucrative, I briefly considered retiring from detective work to become a full-time bathroom creep, but it's not uncommon for women to respond violently when I take photos of them on the toilet, and you can only get shot in the head women to respond.
I am sorry, but why is this person carrying a fucking hammer
on violent
them? In a full...
When I take...
yeah, that is... Is that a hammer? What the fuck is that? Bro has a full suit on and he carries a fucking hammer around the office. Is this the American Psycho? Holy fuck.
Photos of them on the toilet, and you can only get shot in the head so many times before you
See,
realize
this is more in line with what I expected. Fucking silencer. That's crazy. That's a Chinese spy, like, sending out industry information out to their motherland. Another common sight in London, to be fair.
that this job might not be working out. So I made a few $100s and got back to work. Resuming my investigation on Devon found me searching through the security tapes at his office. That's when it happened. The murderer struck again. You see, in Shadows of Doubt, there is only ever one active killer, and they strike every 24 hours, which is awful, but also gives us more evidence. So I sprinted through the snowy streets and made my way to Mariga Terrace. After taking the lift up, I find a hollow-eyed Asian man standing in the doorway. The hallway behind him is speckled with blood, and he's giving me a very authentic 1,000-yard stare. The police are doing something in the apartment, so I settle for interrogation.
NPCs have a persistent inventory. I have no clue why they had a hammer.
Interrogating this strange man while I wait for them to leave. His name is Yuka Harada, and he's actually very helpful. He gives me his fingerprint, a description of a suspicious person, and just as I'm about to ask him for some spare change, gunfire rings out. The police officers start shooting at Yuka and then slam the door in my face. He tries to escape and pull a panic alarm, to which the cop replies,
You're Chinese.
and shoots him in the back of the head.
Oh my fucking god.
You see, cops do exist in this world, but from what I gather, their only purpose is to assault minorities. Perfect. It's just like real life. Anyway,
Oh
I just
my
observed
God.
2 police officers gun down an innocent man and then pretend like nothing happened. And as the only witness,
Good riddance, he fucking says. Oh my god.
I was a little terrified, so I took the elevator downstairs, drank a bunch of mouthwash to calm my nerves, and then returned to the crime scene and let myself in. It's another grisly murder, this time 43-year-old Dontrell Baldwin. Same murder weapon, time of death between 11 a.m. and 12 p.m. I dust the entire house for prints, check the phone records, and hack into the computer to search for evidence, but there's nothing at all. In an effort to focus myself, I open the fridge and begin eating a steak, only to realize it's raw and I forgot to cook it. Disgusting. I did find some mysterious objects laid out in his bedroom. It's either a collection of lawnmower blades or a small army of garden gnomes. Too early to say. While exploring the apartment, I decided to close the blinds for some privacy, and there it was.
I wonder what crime the cops thought he did. Maybe the AI freaked out because he was trespassing on the crime scene? I don't know how exactly that works in this game, but it seems like he got stuck there. And yeah, maybe the cops were like, fuck it, you're trespassing, we gave you a warning. But the real answer is he didn't. The cops just have a bloodlust that overtakes them from time to time, and they have to quench it, just like in real life. Like that thing in Baldur's Gate, the Dark Urge. Yeah, that was it.
Was the killer's call sign, taunting me mercilessly, like all of those people that actually graduated high school. I sat down and tried to profile our criminal, perhaps a jealous neighbor driven mad over Dontrell's impressive collection of lawn ornaments, or maybe a call girl looking for a little extra cash. It probably wasn't the spouse, because they were being very cooperative. That's when it dawned on me.
Oh, that was fucking... Okay, so that's weird that the cops would like shoot him or her, whatever, for trespassing if that was like a person actually fucking living there.
The police be in on it. As soon as someone finally started giving me some answers, they ventilated his skull at point-blank range. Something stinks here, and for once, it's not me. When solving crimes, it's important to look for patterns. So I looked very hard and found only 2 things in common between the victims. 1, they are both in homosexual relationships, and 2, they're co-workers. I like the idea of a homophobic serial killer, but short of going undercover as a power bottom, I wasn't sure how to pursue this obvious lead, so instead we focused on the workplace connection. It's day 2 of the investigation, and I was a little confused on how to proceed. I've already investigated Dontrell's workplace, and I'm not going to lie, I spent most of the day getting beat up in public washrooms. It's all kind of a blur. I think at one point I punched a child. Eventually, I emerged from this fugue state on a bench outside of Commerce Inc. I've been waiting here for the past 13 hours without interruption in an effort to find Devin Savoy. His work schedule says he'll be here any second, and look at that, there he is, unlocking the office door and briefly quantum tunneling through reality. I interrogated him and he was definitely suspicious. I asked him about Mark and he refused to make eye contact with me, so I began shaking with both rage and hypothermia, a deadly mix. Eventually, I let him go about his workday while I stalked him through the office. That's when it came over the radio. Another murder. This time at 1201 Williams Park. I'll deal with you later. I rushed to the crime scene as fast as I could. Last time, law enforcement beat us to it and contaminated the evidence. We can't let that happen again. Unfortunately, we were too slow. Probably because of all of the stolen goods I've been hauling around in my personal evidence locker. Either
Why doesn't he fucking sell them or something?
way, this caused me to enter a blind rage, and I used my knuckles as tools of holy righteousness to beat the police officer into a coma. Just for good measure, I also handcuffed him. I began scanning for blood and footprints, but after ramming the policeman's head through a tube television, the crime scene became somewhat contaminated. Fortunately, the bedroom was relatively pristine along with the body. It's Winton Goolsby, CEO of Cotton Inc., the same company Mark and Dontrell worked for. Someone is knocking off the upper management. First, the head of HR, then marketing, and now the CEO. Who could it be? Competition? Jaded employee? Maybe even me in some kind of violent drug binge? Only time will tell. I searched the apartment to find the following: fresh footprints from a size 12 woman's heel, a singular 8mm cartridge, and finally a new sync disk. This one allows you to make money by installing data mining software on work computers. Winton Goolsby, you naughty, naughty boy. This was all helpful, but we really cracked the case wide open after I infiltrated the apartment building's security office. Here I can access the cameras for every floor of the building, and luckily there's one with a good view of Winton's unit. He died around lunchtime, so I scrubbed through the footage and found a few potential candidates. However, one stuck out in particular: Andrea Naryan. Why do I know this name? Everyone else was just unidentified citizen. That's when it hit me. I know Andrea because I took a Polaroid of her on the toilet at Cotton Inc. If she works at that office, that means she knows all 3 victims, and we have her on tape entering and leaving Winton's apartment around the time of the murder. This is very good. I printed out a photo of Andrea and began building.
I can't fucking believe that being a toilet inspection expert helped him crack this fucking case. That's the... oh my god. Also, she had a fucking gun! Man, she is a Chinese fucking spy trying to destabilize the company. What the fuck?
A profile for her on the tac.
And when I say Chinese, you have to understand, I wouldn't call her an American spy, for example, because she actually seems fucking competent.
According to her work schedule,
that's not a word I usually associate with like American spies.
she should be at the office right now, which gives us the perfect opportunity to break into her apartment and begin stealing things. I suppose we can also try to solve the crime while we're there too. 501 Roth Building, this is it. I dim the lights and kick the door off its hinges. I begin exploring, and judging by the way she decorates her apartment, I already know she's a psychopath. Red leather on a green carpet? Doctor, lobotomize this woman immediately. However, even more diagnostic than the poor decor was this crumpled up piece of paper I found. It describes a woman tying a man to a chair and dancing around waving a knife in his face while he begs for his life. This, on its own, would be suspicious. However, it's not on its own, because there are hundreds of these notes all over her apartment. On the couch, in the cabinet, bathroom sink, random drawers, inside the oven, running shower, and of course, there was about 24 inside the fridge, each one reading the exact same thing. This bitch is definitely killing people. Oh, and I also found some 8mm ammunition that fits the murder weapon. Now look, I'm 99% sure this is our killer, but I'm a by-the-books kind of guy, so I want to catch her in the act. It's not a sexual thing, I just really need to be sure it's her, mostly because I get fined pretty heavily for arresting the wrong people, and I worked too hard to make this money just to lose it on some psycho bitch with a photocopier. So here's what I do. I go to a vending machine and purchase a GPS tracker. I'm going to put this on Andrea and monitor her movements throughout the day, because much like a Nigerian prince has a physiological need to steal my credit card information, Andrea has a need to kill someone every single day. However, this time I'll be ready, following behind her every step of the way right until she breaks into an apartment, at which point I'll smash her head in with a dumbbell, find the murder weapon, and haul her off to jail. But first, we need to get the tracker on her, so I hung around her apartment building until she entered her home. Then, I knock on the door and back up all the way across the hall and into the elevator, which gives me the maximal possible runway. Just as I hear her begin to unlock the door, I sprint towards it, jump into the air, and slam both of my feet into it at the same time. The door smashes into Andrea's skull and renders...
What the fuck kind of plan is that? Why didn't he just plant the tracking device when she was going into the apartment?
Her instantly unconscious. She'll wake up in a few hours thinking she's just been hit by a sledgehammer, but apart from that, she'll be fine. I place the tracker on her and escape to a nearby diner. From here, I can monitor her exact movements not just through the city, but even throughout her own apartment. For example, she's currently in her washroom checking to see how many teeth she's missing. So here's the plan. I'm going to sit in this diner and monitor Andrea for the next 24 hours. However, the 24-hour cycle in this game is pretty long, so we'll be taking micro naps in 15-minute increments and checking on her position in between. Hopefully, that's not enough time for her to murder anyone. The plan was actually working very well. I started shift at 7 p.m. and midnight came and went without any trouble. 1 a.m., 2, 3, 4, I made it to 8:45 and still no movement. She'll be going to work soon. I'm starting to think I was wrong about Andrea, and that's when it happened. I took another nap, woke up at 9 a.m. and she's on the move. Her GPS signal is leading me to this building. It's not her apartment and it's not her work. 9:13 a.m. at Williams Park, 3rd floor. I catch up to find her standing outside the door of someone's apartment. She's in some kind of a daze, and after snapping a few photos for evidence, I managed to sneak past her and enter the flat. That's when I find it, the next victim. We're too late, and Andrea rushes past me and attempts to escape. Not this time. I grab a tea kettle from the stove and beam it off the back of her head like a baseball. She falls like a sack of potatoes, and before she can recover from yet another traumatic brain injury, she's already in handcuffs. We've got our killer, and she even still has the murder weapon in her inventory. I leave Andrea cuffed up in the hallway while I head to City Hall to turn the case in. You might be worried she'll escape, but I'm pretty sure she can't even walk anymore after taking that tea kettle to the head. After filling out the arrest form, we hand the case in and wait for our results. Apparently, I fucked up the paperwork a bit, but most importantly, we arrested the right person, and as a reward, we received $1,700 and our social credit increases, which means the Communist Party will stop putting estrogen in my water supply.
Ah, so I was wrong actually. This game takes place in China and she was actually a British spy. What a last second twist. Holy shit.
What a shame. Oh, and in case you're wondering about the police officer we assaulted at Winton Goulby's apartment, yeah, I'm pretty sure he's dead. I turned off all the lights and left him handcuffed in the living room. Regardless, the streets are safer and the world has us to thank for it. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Finally, don't forget to install Raid using the links below to get all this cool stuff. Alright, see you later.
What a cool ass video game. Oh my god. Holy hell. I honestly need to look this up and like play it for myself because that sounds super interesting. British spy being competent, that's even more surprising. You know what? That's true. But she did get caught in the end, so maybe she was not that competent after all. And her first instinct when somebody snapped like a photo of her was to pull out a fucking gun with a silencer on it and try to murder him. So maybe I did overestimate how competent she is. Jesus Christ, like, I have it, it's epic, even though it barely runs on my PC. Oh, does it have like crazy hardware requirements because of I assume because of the size of the simulation, because that's a lot of NPCs with like randomized routines and shit. God damn. Extremely impressive video game. I don't know who made this game. I'm assuming this is kind of an indie title, kind of a deal. Like supporting devs who make actual cool stuff like this. Doesn't matter really if it's an indie company or not. If it's an indie company, then it goes double. But like supporting any company that makes games like this instead of the usual open world light RPG slop, holy hell, that's one hell of a game. And that's pretty much all I had to say for this one. To the people later watching this on YouTube, thank you very much for watching and supporting the channel.